Caesarion was also recognized as the son of God in Egypt, after his mother named him co-ruling pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra declared Caesarion to be the king of kings at the age of 13 during the donations of Alexandria ceremony in 34 BC. The face of history suddenly changed when Caesarion's father, Julius Caesar, was stabbed to death by his most trusted men. Octavian, the adopted son of Julius Caesar, swiftly seized power as the new Roman emperor. After Caesar's death, Cleopatra became romantically involved with a married commander from Caesar's army named Mark Antony. Mark Antony and Cleopatra parented 3 children, a twin boy and girl, followed by a second boy. Since Caesarion was Julius Caesar's son and the rightful heir to the Roman Empire, Cleopatra feared for his safety. When Octavian's mighty Roman army invaded Egypt, Cleopatra arranged for Caesarion's safe passage out of Egypt with her most trusted servants. Historians confirm that Cleopatra sent Caesarion to India. There are no historical records of Caesarion's fate, despite false rumors of his capture. Cleopatra's trusted servants who traveled with Caesarion became the boy's parent guardians. But who exactly were these parent guardians who Cleopatra entrusted her son to? Were their names Mary and Joseph by any chance? While Caesarion fled from Egypt with his parent guardians, Cleopatra and Mark Antony's 3 children were placed in the care of Mark Antony's wife. After suffering a crushing defeat against Octavian's invading Roman army, Mark Antony committed suicide by falling on his own sword. The devastated Cleopatra also committed suicide by a self-inflicted poisonous snake bite. While traveling undercover through Egypt with his parent guardians, Caesarion was forced to hide his identity and change his name. The Egyptian name for Jesus is Isu, which means the son of Isis. It can be found in Egyptian hieroglyphics. Matthew 2, verses 13 and 14 of the Bible tell a parallel story of the young child Jesus and his mother fleeing into Egypt with Joseph under the cover of night.
In the year 1887, a book was published in Russia which rocked the Christian world. It was vilified and condemned. It was called The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ. The writer, Nicholas Notovich, was a respected journalist. Notovich claimed his book was a factual report of a trip he made to the Himalayan mountains in remote northern India. Notovich may well have been the first outsider to make his way to Hemis, an isolated Buddhist monastery hidden high in the Asian mountaintops. Gaining the confidence of an elderly monk, he was shown ancient scrolls which tell the story of a scholar and prophet named Issa. In these secret records, Issa is described as a foreigner from a small Mediterranean country. The stranger arrived in India as a teenage boy to study the teachings of the Buddha. And according to the scrolls, he lived here 500 years after the prophet Buddha died, a time that coincides exactly with the lost years of Jesus. Nicholas Notovich was convinced that Issa was Jesus of Nazareth. and that he carried back to his homeland the principles of Buddhism. Half a century after Notovich was in Hemis in 1902, a Hindu priest sought refuge in the same remote Indian monastery. He too translated the scrolls and published a work. His translation verifies the work of Notovich.
Ancient writings do exist from both Persia as well as India, that Jesus did indeed travel to India, but we do not have 100% proof that he was there. The proof, however, does lie in his teachings when compared to sacred Buddhist writings.
The authenticated ancient scrolls found at the Hemis monastery near Leh in Kashmir document the life of Saint Isa, leaving home at the age of 13, joining a merchant caravan, traveling the Silk Route, and arriving in India at the age of 14. The Egyptian word for Jesus is Isu, the Greek word is Iesus, and the Arabic word for Jesus is Isa. Isa continued his travels through India and Tibet and the holy cities, where Brahmin priests taught him to read and understand the Vedas. He learned Pali and studied the sacred sutras and how to cure by aid of prayer. He began teaching, performing miracles, and explaining the holy scriptures in monasteries and market bazaars. As an adult, Isa finally left India and Tibet and traveled to Alexandria, Egypt. Why Alexandria? Because that's where Isa, whose previous name was Caesarion, grew up. That's where he last saw his mother, Cleopatra, alive. The second Mary present at the crucifixion was Jesus' younger half-sister, Mary Magdalene, whose birth name was Selene. She is also identified in the Bible as Mary of Cleopas, meaning Mary of Cleopatra. Selene was the orphan daughter of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, who both committed suicide. After being captured by Emperor Octavian, Selene was raised in Octavian's royal household with her two brothers and with Octavian's son, Tiberius, who became the next Roman emperor. They were raised together by the emperor's sister, Octavia. Selene eventually married and became the Queen of Mauritania. Like her mother Cleopatra, Selene wore the headdress of the goddess Isis. Selene's half-brother Caesarion finally returned to Egypt after 17 years in hiding. He searched for Selene and found her. He was now called Jesus Christ, a name with the same initials as his father, J.C., for Julius Caesar. He told Selene about his plan to capture his father's kingdom, the Roman Empire, which Emperor Octavian had stolen from him. He told her he would capture it not with weapons and armies, but by creating a new religion and transforming the Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire. Selene agreed to join her brother's spiritual revolution. She changed her name from Selene to Magdalene by adding the word Magda to her name, which means high place in Hebrew. Jesus Caesarion also searched for and found his two half-brothers, one of whom was Selene's twin. His nickname was Thomas Didymus, which means twin in Greek and Hebrew. 17 years after her suicide, Cleopatra's 4 children were all reunited again. Why are the pages of the Bible silent about where Jesus was and what he did for 17 years from the age of 13 to 30? Jesus' band of revolutionaries included not only the Essenes, but a violent Hebrew terrorist group called the Zealots, who evolved into today's Zionists.
We're going to a wedding.
speculation that Jesus married his half-sister Mary Magdalene. The Bible describes a wedding party in which Jesus uses his godly powers to magically turn water into wine for the party guests. Why did the Bible fail to name the names of the bride and groom at the wedding party? Is it because the names of the bride and groom were Jesus and Mary Magdalene?